Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cliff Notes podcast, where we ask a leader and find a way. Today, Susan Walsh has joined us to help us understand how data and keeping things clean and tidy can help your business. Hello there, Susan.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And could you give us a bit more understanding of where do you fit in and work with the areas of data and management?
Yeah, so I think I'm a really good example of that anybody can work with data. So I completely fell into it by accident. My previous career had been kind of account management, account execs roles and more salesy. And then I had a shop and then I just fell into data. And I discovered that I was really good at working with data and classifying it and spotting patterns within it and doing it really accurately and efficiently. So I did that with a spend analytics company for about 5 years and then decided that actually I could offer a standalone service of just classifying and cleansing data on its own without dashboards and reporting. So I've been doing that for the last 3 years and I became the classification guru. So that's me.
That's a great label. So, I mean, maybe we could start with that. I mean, what are you classifying?
So, yeah, it tends to be financial or spend data for procurement and finance teams. So that's where it started. So if you have a set of data, you might have a supplier name and an invoice description. And that description might either say office supplies or it might say pens, pencil, paper. It might be quite detailed. So depending on the level of detail, I can classify it so that once the whole set of data is classified, the client will know how much they're spending with each supplier. They'll know how much they're spending in each category. And they'll know how many suppliers they have in each category. So you might find that you have 50 different office supply companies that you're buying from. So there's a real opportunity there to actually choose 2 or 3, negotiate a really good price and rationalise that number down. And a lot of time, the organisations that I work with just don't have that visibility. So it really shines a light on some really great opportunities for them.
So are you seeing that as sort of efficiencies of choosing suppliers or more in that lean waste that people might not realise that they're buying the same product from different suppliers or miscategorising the data?
Yeah, I find that normally there's a preferred supplier list and there's contracts in place, but departments or regions will potentially go off and buy from their favourite supplier rather than the one they should. So this helps ensure compliance and ultimately leads to cost savings.
Great. Cost savings are always good, especially when they're not really costing anyone. Internally, it's just being more efficient.
Well, that's the thing. It's that a lot of people don't see working on the data as an investment. They see it as just an unnecessary cost, but actually the percentage that you pay to classify your data or cleanse it versus how much you could potentially save is massive. It's a very small cost in relation. So that's what I really try and promote, the awareness of how important clean data is.
Yeah, I mean, I see this data from the other side of sort of setting the pieces up. The concept of keeping it clean and tidy, it just makes things more efficient and you know what you're doing and how the things are working. So I can see that.
There's time savings in there as well.
Indeed. And so when looking at data, is this something that is just for enterprises or big companies, or where can you start with them?
Not at all. So large companies obviously have a much larger data set, so we'll have more detail and more areas of opportunity for cost savings or time savings or efficiencies. But if you're a sole trader, maintaining your data is just as important. So, for example, I'm a sole trader and I still have data that's really important. So At the moment, I use Zero accounting software, and I just set it up like I'm sure a lot of people did, and use the standard terms accounting groups that they've got. So it's things like advertising and marketing, travel, really basic groupings. But as a business, I really want to know, well, within marketing and advertising, how much am I spending on print? How much am I spending at exhibitions? How much am I spending on social media? In travel, it might be how much am I spending on trains? How much am I spending on hotels? So I need to go in and break up those categories further. And that will give me more information. But another example of a smaller business that I worked with, they sell products all across Europe, clothing for jiu-jitsu and sports gear. And they were getting a lot of refunds and returns, and it costs a lot of money to ship the product back and then potentially send another one out. So they wanted to see why people were returning the goods. So I managed to come up with a way to categorize their data so that I could categorize the clothing into groups of things like kimonos, belts, shorts, that kind of thing. Then I could also categorize the reasons why people were returning. So it could be that it was too big, it was too small, didn't suit them, or it didn't arrive in time. And then from that information, we could look at it and we could see that within the largest product group, which was kimonos that was coming back, one of the biggest reasons that it was being returned was that the sizing was too large. They were having to get a smaller size. So that really opened up a really amazing insight for them and offered them the opportunity to put something on their website to say that, you know, the sizing comes up large, which would hopefully then prevent future exchanges and refunds. So there's loads of different ways you can apply categorization or cleansing to data. You know, even if you're a small company, you might have a database and you might have a lot of names in there and there might be some duplicates, but you just don't have the time to fix it. So, but it can be really important.
That sounds really, really useful. So not just that sort of bookkeeping and cleanliness of it, you're actually offering extra sort of business insight either to the sales or the support teams to be able to make more profit from the actual product and not just cleaning up the data.
Sponsorship of this podcast has been brought to you by Holding Bay, the digital web agency. Holding Bay specialises in working with B2B companies like manufacturers to build better solutions and drive better sales funnels. So if you would like to build a web application or improve your branding and sales funnel, get in contact today. holdingbay.co.uk or call us on 01273 044 019.
Is that an area you worked with more with sort of different manufacturing or procurement functions?
No, I haven't. And I do tend to find that I'm a bit of a troubleshooter. So I tend to be able to help fix data problems that people have had for a little while. So it's very hard for me to say, I can fix this for you, I can fix that for you, because I tend to end up with quite specialised problems that I can fix. Once I fix them, I can then share with my wider audience how I fixed them. And then other people will think, oh, I've got a problem like that. I should get in touch with Susan. So there's another client who had a big SKU problem, loads of them, like 70,000. So I've taken the first chunk of like 30,000. And what you find is that actually a lot of them are the same. They've just been named slightly differently. So it's about condensing those down so that they actually have a true list of products. So I managed to get that down from 32,000 to 24,000. So, and again, it's not something that I would have necessarily realised I could have done, but when they came to me with the problem, I said, oh yeah, I can really help you with this.
A helpful piece.
So send me your challenges, yeah.
Indeed. So yeah, no challenge too big or small in the data space. And are these the sort of processes that need to be repeated often, or you can train those or supply those back to the business afterwards, so that they can be run at regular intervals or automated as part of their processes?
Yeah, I can do both. I work with software called Omniscope, so it's data modeling and data visualization. I've developed my own methodology using it over the years, so I'm pretty efficient with it. So I can do it myself for the client, or I can train the client up to do it. If they don't have the software, it can be done in Excel, but it's very slow and very tricky. So sometimes it's more cost effective for them just to send it to me maybe monthly or quarterly to update.
Great. And if this isn't sort of software or process that people are familiar with, how is this different from working in Excel?
So everyone here as listening has probably used Excel at some point and had some kind of disaster with it. I think one of the biggest problems is cut and paste errors in Excel. So you might have a filter on and you might try and cut and paste some stuff in the filter. But when you take the filter off, you realise it's cut and paste onto the stuff that wasn't in the filter. So then you end up with a mismatch of data and you kind of have to start again because it's such a mess. You don't have those issues in Omniscope. You kind of move the data you don't want away. So it never gets touched. You only work with the data you need. In terms of things like I can deduplicate at the press of a button on multiple columns. You can't do that. The best you can do in Excel is conditional formatting to look for duplicates and then filter on the colours. So it's as I say, it's still possible, but it is very time consuming. So imagine rather than spending a couple of hours like going through and having to manually delete things from Excel, send it over to me. I can have it back to you within an hour. All done, all nice and tidy.
Sounds like a perfect ticket. But your system can scale up to, obviously some people may be used to working in Excel with hundreds of rows and some with hundreds of thousands of rows.
Oh yeah.
But your processes, you're used to working with much bigger data sets too.
Small and large. Had a client last year and they had 9 different files with customer names and information in them. So I merged those all together. That gave me 2.8 million rows of data. So it was pretty hefty. And I managed to deduplicate that down to 1.4 million rows. So I can handle really large volumes of data. And that's just on my laptop. That's not even, some fancy server somewhere up in the cloud. It's just me.
Okay. And then if people have businesses having to work with sharing with data with you, do you have some good sort of privacy and data policies with that, with sort of sharing information?
Fully GDPR compliant. I tend not to work with an awful lot of personal data. It tends to be financial, and I tend to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, before I start working with a client. I have all the relevant software in place for protection. I use 2-step authentication to get into all my apps. It's fingerprint login. And I also live on my own, so there is literally, unless someone tries to hack in, there's nobody else to have access to the data, and it's obviously backed up as well.
That's great. So you don't have to face the same challenges as me in this sort of COVID-19 lockdown times of protecting the things from the kids. You've got your own space and your own
yes, yeah. You don't realize you've been away. Someone come back, something's missing, and you don't realize someone's accidentally pressed a button. Actually, I've got a bit of a funny story about that. I have a wireless mouse and keyboard, and I had been cleaning, so I'd taken everything off and put it on a chair. And then I decided to watch my laptop in bed over the weekend. Highly recommend Tiger King on Netflix if you haven't seen it. If you think the real world is pretty crazy right now, you should definitely watch that. And the cursor kept jumping and doing really weird things. And I couldn't understand why it was. Because I'd cleaned my laptop, I thought maybe I'd messed up the touchpad with maybe the chemicals, or it was a bit too wet. Anyway, it took me a couple of days to realise that something was sitting on my mouse in the living room while I was in the bedroom, and that's what was causing the problem. I'd reinstalled drivers and everything, thinking that was a problem. And sometimes it's the simplest thing.
Had little mice running around on your keyboard or something.
Yeah, I thought I was going crazy.
Taking this on as just to run through a case of at what point's good to engage working with yourselves. If I'm sort of running a manufacturing shop or a warehouse, and I've got sort of materials coming in and then parts going out and things.
Yes.
Is there a time in the year or a certain area that you're gonna it's most likely I'm going to want to contact you, or you can help me on if I haven't thought of these things that you can fix. What's gonna start off with making me give you a call?
There's going to be a problem. That's the reason that people call me. There's a problem. So I know that if anyone who's working in manufacturing is listening right now, they'll know that there will be missing part numbers in their data or mistyped, bit of confusion around the part numbers, maybe half filled in descriptions or missing descriptions. So I can fix all that, make it nice and clean, unique codes, because there will be duplicates in there as well, I'm sure. And obviously part numbers and things change over time, so but they get left in. I can tidy all that up. I tend to find that there is no rhyme or reason for when people get in touch. So this last summer just gone, it was very quiet, but the summer before that it was really busy. So it's when there's a need that's the time to pick up the phone or drop me an email.
Right. So let's keep playing through the scenario. Same supplier, but they've changed their SKU numbers. They've changed their catalog and sent me the new data in, and so I've just got to match that across and keep the business working without having to retrain everyone on new numbers.
Yeah. So, and also you might have a number of different suppliers, and it's all in different formats. So I can standardize all that. I can build a model so that when the new information drops in, it will automatically change into the format that you need. And you can also do things like mapping exercises, so you can map the old SKUs to the new SKUs, so that there's no business interruption. It could be that the staff don't want to deal with the new SKUs, so you might let them work on the old SKUs with what they're doing, but for your system point of view, it's mapped to the new SKU, so you can still work in the new SKU while everyone else is working in the old way, because people are not the best at welcoming change and things like that. So there's ways around these issues and problems.
Great. And do you kick this off with some sort of a meeting or assessment, or just come straight in to work on the problems?
Normally, we'll have an initial call. They'll tell me what the problem is. Then I'll say, this is what I think I might be able to do. I'll normally ask to see a sample of the data. I like to price per project. So by having a look at the sample of the data, I can judge by that how long it's going to take me. And then there'll be a first draft that goes back, and at that point there may be some changes. Quite often, when clients come to me, they don't often know what they want. So when they see the first draft, they realise, oh, that's not really what I want. I want this instead. So that can happen. That's fine. That's what I'm prepared for.
You're adaptable.
Yeah,
that sounds good. And you said that it's a fixed price, so it's not an unknown cost or just.
No, you don't want scope creep. Yeah. It's better for me, it's better for the client to say, right, this is the price, regardless of how long it takes me, this is what you're going to pay. And I think it helps with budgets and things like that. And it's probably easier to get sign off as well.
Yeah, approval can be an issue, can't it? Especially if it's a new process.
Yeah.
And this process might take you. Just the whole engagement, and then your part takes sort of a matter of days or weeks or things normally.
Days, weeks. The 2.8 million row cleansing exercise took 5 working days to do. Classification is a bigger job. It can be tricky if it's in multiple languages as well, so that can take maybe 2 or 3 weeks. but it's I'm very much all about communication. So I can generally tell within the first 2 or 3 days of working on a project if it's going to run over or not. So I like to keep the client informed, let them know there's going to be any issues as soon as possible. And normally it might only be a day or two over the original agreed date. But other things can happen too. So quite often you'll find that you start working and then the client realizes they haven't sent you all their data, so you kind of got to start again. So things like that happen too. You just it's about being flexible.
Mm-hmm. And do you tend to work with companies where you're more ad hoc relationships as they need things and change things, or more it might be a monthly or quarterly piece where you're just regularly involved with them?
It has been more ad hoc, but I'm starting to work with more clients that there'll be more regular projects. Because data's just exploded in the last year. There was never this focus when I started my business 3 years ago. Everybody's looking at data now, so which is a great thing.
Yeah, definitely can be seen as an asset, and especially
keeping
it clean and tidy so that it can move between systems or match different systems up.
Yeah. I was just going to say, no matter how many kind of teams you have within your company, there's still always data issues, or there's other teams working remote, like they've gone rogue and they're doing their own thing. So there's always kind of a mismatch between the master data and the data that you might be working with in your department. So it's always good to just get that aligned again.
I guess to put it to the sort of more physical world, stock control and auditing, that never goes away. People do not keep everything nice and tidy, and things change, or layouts need to be rearranged, or different things. And the same with the data. It's presumably it's not.
Yeah, and if you've got, you're looking at forecasting and you've got missing product codes in your data, you're not forecasting accurately, or maybe it's been assigned the wrong code or something. Yeah, it happens. So if you can kind of use a way to flag it up, then it's better for everybody.
That's great. Well, just to keep us to time too today, keep us efficient and tidy. Have you got any tips or things that are useful for people that they can work on either themselves or helps them help you and work together with data?
Absolutely. So the most important thing is consistency within your data. So if you're in a larger organization and you have teams and there's lots of people working on the data, make sure you're all working to the same standards, and make sure it's organized. And also just get familiar with your data. The more you understand or recognize your data, the easier you'll be able to spot when there's an issue. I think a lot of issues occur because people don't look at their data often enough to know that there's something wrong with it. So when I get it, within days, I can understand their data and spot straight away when there's something wrong.
Great. So it sounds like a great sort of augmentation of in-house staff and teams. The clarity you've been able to have.
Yeah, if you're struggling, get some outside help. It is an investment. It's not a cost.
Oh, that sounds great. And just because we were talking at the beginning of the call, you're on a fun non-uniform day.
I am
at home today. And maybe you'd like to, if you want to, tell the listeners the costume you've chosen today.
Yeah, so today I'm a fairy, so I guess I'm the data fairy, and I'm here to spread some sparkle and joy on LinkedIn. And I've got all my meetings today. I'm doing this podcast dressed up. I've also got a video podcast later, so I'll be dressed up to do that as well. I think it just brings a bit of fun to the day, and I've offered the neighbours to walk around the block at lunchtime and wave to the kids and stuff as well. So it just breaks the day. It's everything seems a bit Groundhog Day at the moment. So if I can bring a smile to someone's face, then that's good. That makes me feel good.
Cool. Well, then just to alternate the closing question that I'd give other guests, if we've backed you into the corner of the ring, but you're a fairy and you're going to come out fighting, what are the two wishes you might have to produce some good results for your business?
I think if you'd asked me that 6 months ago, I would have said, clients, awareness, money. But I've worked really hard to build a presence on LinkedIn, so I'm kind of getting there. I guess it is. I just want to be the go-to person for data dilemmas and data problems that can be solved. So yeah, just more. I just want to be known as. I want to be the data go-to lady. That's my one wish, or two wishes combined into one.
Well, you've convinced me today with the clarity and talking to you before some of your presentations on this.
Brilliant.
Just with people being able to get in contact with you and getting better Cleanly results from their data, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
So there's Susan@theclassificationguru.com is my email. Website is theclassificationguru.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, that's my playground. It's where I hang out a lot, and that's just Susan Walsh, the Classification Guru. There's only one of me, so I'm quite easy to find. And then if you want some resources, I also have a YouTube channel, so I've got some how-to videos, explainer videos, and talking around things like what is a taxonomy, why should you classify your data, why should you cleanse your data. So lots of resources there if you want to have a look. And that's the Classification Guru. So again, you'll find that easily.
Cool. Sounds great. Well, thanks for your time today, and I hope everyone's feeling that they've got some time to get more value out of their own business and their data.
Yeah, hopefully, if I can get some more people thinking about it, then that's great. Job done.
Thanks for joining us today on the Cliff Notes podcast. If you'd like to get in contact with myself or the guest, we're available on the website cliffnotespodcast.com or on Twitter @cliffnotespod, and the show notes are available with all the contact details. Thank you, and wish you well at this busy time.